Okay, so last time I bought you videos of my Funkadelic collection. Now here is my Parliament collection. Now what happened was, around the time I was getting into them, I actually went through BMG Music Club to get most of my music because CDs were still really expensive in the stores, you know, $18, $17 CDs, whatever. And, being a kid on an allowance, I couldn't afford that. So, they had all these deal CDs, buy one, get five at, discount or free. And this is one of the free CDs. And note, two CDs sets counted as two separate CDs. This is my introduction to Parliament. I'm showing you this first because this is my first introduction to them. It came with a booklet that was really nice and explorative, and it was about this much bigger than it, and I've since lost it somewhere. I have it, but it's not part of this. Anyway, this is called Tear the Roof Off, 1974 to 1980. That's what the inside of it looks like. It samples all their albums and includes some longer versions, and I think a couple of unreleased things, but it gave me a good introduction to Parliament. But the thing about compilations I find, and which is why I don't buy a lot of them, is because if they're an act like Parliament, and you get captivated by their sound, you're going to have a lot of overlap of songs when you get entranced by their sound and find you need the original albums as well. And I'm an album buyer. Well, that's capitalism for you. Anyway, little political humor seems appropriate. This is, alright, little explanation. This album you see right here, Parliament, First Things, this was from 1970, released on the Invictus label. And what happened was, they released an album called Osmium on that label. But this was reissued first, and it has a lot of tracks that were not on the Osmium album. And I believe on the song The Silent Boatman, it's the only song that George Clinton was associated with that actually included a bagpipe. Kind of like Rufus Harley, the jazz bagpipe player. The early version of Red Hot Mama is on here, as well as Loose Booty. This album sounds more like Funkadelic than Parliament, but it's the first one to use the Parliament label. Well, some years later, he decided to re-up that with Up For The Downstroke, the first Parliament album on Casablanca, from their famous years. I'm wondering what's going on in that album cover. Anyway, there's more of that. Up For The Downstroke is an amazing funk number. A lot of the stuff on this, like The Goose and All Your Goodies Are Gone, again, sound more like Funkadelic, more acid rocky. They even redo Testify, the first hit by the Parliaments in 1967. A little more modern, a little funkier than the one before it. Anyway, that's that one. This is actually one of my favorite albums from Parliament. Chocolate City's a brilliant cut. I don't want to go on how brilliant that is. But this is one of their most consistently funky albums. I mean, Right On, Together, Side Effects, What Comes Funky, Bigfoot. I mean, it's almost all heavy funk. This is the only one of the remastered Parliament albums that I actually have. I love the CD design and the replica of the original vinyl. Alright, this is Parliament's classic. Now, even if you have their greatest hits, you need to have that. This one. This was also recorded in 1975, later in the year. But the thing about this record is that it is all funk. There's no ballads or musical sidetracks on it. It's all funk songs. Every one of these songs are all heavy funk. You're getting all funk on this. All funk, all the time. Make my funk to P-funk, whatever it is. This, my friends, fellow Funketeers, is F-U-N-K. Pure funk, uncut funk, the bomb. If you don't have it, get it. All funk there. I love this cover. Now, I had this a long time on cassette, but I got it recently on CD. The Clones of Dr. Funkenstein. I wasn't too keen on this album originally. George was starting to wear himself a little bit thin, all these acts going, but Gaining on You is an absolutely amazing cut, and Do That Stuff Too, which is on that compilation I showed you. And the cover art alone is amazing. These guys really should have done a movie, like a comic strip type movie. Would have been great. This is another album that is considered a absolute Parliament classic. And you know, I didn't own this or like this much at all at first. I had this impression of it as being rather ballad heavy. I was looking for heavy funk when I was getting into them. But now, I see the point of this album and I love it. There's the Bop Gun and Sir Nose. Look what happens to Sir Nose if you open this up. He goes for the funk and he's a clone of Funkenstein. Must have been fantastic on vinyl. I believe there was a comic book about Sir Nose devoid of funk, one of George Clinton's characters that came with this. Wizard of Finance, you know, of course, Sir Nose devoid of funk, Pay Attention, Placebo Syndrome, Funkintelligy, Flashlight. You know, you all know this album very well. Most George Clinton fans know this very well. The Motor Booty Affair. This is actually one of the albums that I really find this a very good concept album. He's talking about dancing underwater. It's about living life. I mean, he uses dancing underwater and not getting wet as a metaphor for life. You know, it's always metaphor in the African American culture. There's use. That's not intentional, but I kind of like it being there. Kind of cool. There's George Clinton riding on the dolphins with the boombox. Replica of some of the original art that came with that album on vinyl. This, of course, has got Aqua Boogie on it. And Liquid Sunshine. One of the most amazing of all time funk numbers that Parliament ever did. This is Glory Hell is Stupid, or Pin the Tail on the Funky, from 1979. The members of Digital Underground actually like this and the final Parliament album best, and sampled it the most. This is not considered Parliament's greatest album by a long shot. As a matter of fact, it's considered their absolute worst on some occasions. There's the inside art. There's some comic book drawings. Let me get that a little closer so you can see it. Get my hand out of the way. And there's some more comic book drawings in here. For those of you who like visual aids, I know I do. And this, of course, has Party People, very tongue-in-cheek attempt at disco, The Big Bang Theory, amazing instrumental, The Freeze, a great cut and theme from The Black Hole. There's some amazing songs on here. George was spreading himself really thin by the time of this album, though, so. Okay, this is the last Parliament album, and the only one to date that is out of print. But I don't think it will be for long. This is Trumbipulation. This is actually one of my favorites. I think it's as powerful as Mothership Connection, only from the early 80s. And you open it up, slickery dickory snout. George Clinton with the elephant trunk, digging on things with his nose. Anyway, Crush It, Trumbipulation, New Do Review, Let's Play House, you know, the Humpty Dance, Pika Groove. Again, all funk. Great album. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This is the latest that I got from Parliament. This is the 12-inch collection. I hesitated on this because I thought, maybe I already have this stuff, but there are long versions of Flashlight on here and Up for the Downstroke. OI is actually the original Parliament version, not the Funkadelic equivalent, on Electric Spanking. And if we open it up, we'll see a picture of George in there, and the band and liner notes and so on and so forth. Now, this is not Parliament. He wanted to form a P-Funk girl group, and the label actually wanted him to form a very commercial P-Funk group called The Parlettes. But he gave them a funky P-Funk girl group called Parlet, featuring Parliament. That's the cover for their first album, The Pleasure Principle. Basically, they're Parliament with ladies' voices. There they are. I don't have the two Bride of Funkenstein albums, only one of them. So, anyway, that's my Parliament collection. And next up, what I've got of the solo career of George Clinton himself.